It's John Bowden, Rock History Canada. I thought to myself, I'd be remiss if I didn't do something on our Canadian channel concerning April wine and Myles Goodwyn passing away at 75 years old yesterday on my daughter's birthday. April Wine's always been my favorite Canadian band, bar none. Nothing, someone had said on our sister channel today, say, "Oh, why do you like April Wine before?" Let me just turn this down. More than Rush, and they mentioned somebody else. I'm going, well, I can't help what I like. No one has to make excuses for the bands that they love, and April Wine was always my favorite Canadian band. So here we are doing a live feed on the Canadian channel, Rock History Canada. We've got some reactions from a lot of musicians, most notably Canadian musicians like Lisa Hart, who toured with April Wine for this tour. The Live at the El Macombo tour. Got a few autographed albums. I'll show you that. Myles, Jerry Mercer, Brian Greenway, and Jim Clench. Jim has left us as well. I did some of this on our sister channel, but it's First Glance. This album was appropriately titled because Brian Greenway was in the band, and he basically was sort of a new form of April Wine that Myles had said that he was looking into. Their biggest album, Nature of the Beast. I do believe that's Brian that wrote that up there. For Me, Harder, Faster, Electric Jewels, which was, I've said this many times, the Lennon and McCartney version of April Wine with Jim Clench and Myles Goodwyn trading back and forth a lot. The live album, 74, love this live album. Stand Back, which was Myles Goodwyn's favorite era of the band. He had said that. I'm so glad they signed this album. I love Stand Back so much. The Whole World's Going Crazy, which came right after Stand Back. And what was supposed to be Myles Goodwyn's solo album turned into Forever For Now because the band couldn't afford to not do April Wine anymore. They had to continue doing April Wine for financial reasons. So it's been a sad couple of days for me because of April Wine having such an influence on me. Looking back at all the Aquarius records, so there I just looked at it. Aquarius records. That might come. I don't know if that's coming out as backwards, and I showed this on the other channel, and I'd be remiss if I didn't show it on this channel. What do we got here? Yeah, that's me in April Wine in 2000, where they signed all those albums. Myles Goodwyn on top, Jerry Mercer, their drummer, longtime drummer. Beside that, one of my favorite drummers of all time, Jim Clench, who we lost a few years ago, who's the bass player right up to Stand Back and came back quite a few years after that, joined BTO when he left April Wine, and Brian Greenway on the bottom right-hand side. And here's my little Mad Hatter that I made out of clay. Based on, right underneath the Mad Hatter, you can see the album that I did. And so, not that I have to prove my April Wine creds, because I don't think I had a friend in high school who didn't know that I was a huge April Wine fan. Everyone knew that I was a huge April Wine fan. Well, if you want to see our top 25 April Wine songs, there is, in the description, a link to our top 25. We did this huge production a couple of years ago. Myles Goodwyn even shared it. When he saw it, he said, "This is really cool." This is what he said. And he shared it on the April Wine site. I spent 3 weeks. Ask me tomorrow, I'll say 4. I forget. It was a long time putting this best of April Wine together. So again, Myles had a lot of friends in the Canadian music industry, and we're going to talk about some of the people who reacted to his passing. I should point out that he sold 10 million albums with April Wine. It's a lot of records. He's a member of, he was inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame in 2010. Rest in peace, Myles Goodwyn. This is from the Streetheart family. Wish to convey our sincere condolences to Myles' family and the loved ones at this difficult time. We were lucky enough to tour with Myles and April Wine in the 80s, and they were always treated us with class and respect. Ray McGuire, who was now retired lead singer of Trooper, I think Ray was probably my second or third interview in radio. I was very, very scared. We're all struggling to process today's sad news of the passing of Myles Goodwyn of April Wine. He wrote, "I cannot believe Myles is gone. It seems like only a couple of years ago that we walked into a St. John bar together at midnight and ended up closing the place down. We were on stage singing Mustang Sally and random old blues songs with Myles on his guitar long after the audience had gone home and the staff were clearing tables and vacuuming. Two singers from opposite ends of Canada, April Wine in Halifax and Trooper from Vancouver, enjoying singing a few songs together. I cannot count how many times someone has said to me, April Wine and Trooper are my favorite Canadian bands. Now that's really nice. From Lisa Hart, Lisa's been on this channel. If anybody follows this channel, Lisa toured with April Wine when after they released the Live at the Elmo Combo album. I've still got the poster downstairs. Lisa Hart wrote, Myles is a unique force of nature and will remain so. Despite his departure from this earthly stage, he'll be greatly missed on that stage by all of us who tread those boards with him, sending love and comfort to his family, friends, and all those Canadians who loved him. Lisa shared a story with me that Myles did not like her wearing dresses on stage. Myles wanted her to wear pants on stage when she toured with April Wine. It's a story that's on this very channel, Rock History Canada. Brian Greenway, who of course is the only remaining member of April Wine, he joined in '77 on the First Glance album. He said, "So long, old friend." Greg Godovitz, he says, "Like a lover, like a song. You could have stopped at that bit of genius, Myles, but it's nice that you didn't." Jim Henman, and Jim's on this channel a lot as well. We've interviewed Jim a few times. He was on the first April Wine album. The one was Fast Train, and he was touring with Myles Goodwyn as a solo artist for quite a long time. He says, "My longtime friend Myles Goodwyn passed into eternity today, leaving a large hole in my life, a surreal day. The Boys in Tees," remember Myles Goodwyn produced one of their albums, "shocked and speechless at this terrible and completely unexpected news. More to say later. For now, simply rest in peace and thank you, Myles." Burton Cummings, he wrote, Myles Goodwyn, 1948 to 2023. Myles was 75, by the way. Myles and I went back to the earliest days of Canadian music industry, where there were only about half a dozen or so acts in Canada actually making records. Myles and I always got along and were pretty good friends, even though we didn't see each other that often. Rest well, Myles. You sure worked hard, Burton Cummings. Ian Thomas, by the way, Ian, little plug for Ian. Ian's coming up with a new album. I've been, in the last few days, listening to every Ian Thomas album on Spotify, stopping and reveling in the genius of Ian Thomas. I just love him. I was saddened, this is from Ian, I was saddened to hear that Myles Goodwyn of April Wine has died from cancer complications. So many of a generation of musicians are leaving us now on a regular basis that the fabric of our entire era is starting to look like threadbare. But thankfully, their recordings remain. They are reflections of career arcs that began in a guitar-driven watershed of the Beatles. Wow. What else do I have here? Oh, Jeff Woods, who is my favorite classic rock Canadian announcer. I love Jeff, and he's been featured on this channel as well. I'm talking about a lot of people who are actually interviewed on this channel. Jeff Woods said, Myles gone at 75. Condolences to fans, friends, and family. We'll share our last chat soon. Jimmy Rankin, who's also on this channel. Jimmy Rankin wrote, very sorry to hear Myles passing yesterday. A fine man who had a long and remarkable career. Sending my deepest condolences to his family and friends and fans. Myles was an inspiration for me from a very early on. When I spoke to Jimmy Rankin, we spoke in I actually had to cut it down because it ended up being an April Wine talk. We just talked about April Wine an awful lot. He loved, for a guy who wrote Fare Thee Well, man, the Rankin family, like, it's insane. But I just wanted to say, the Music Sanctuary says, good afternoon, John. A truly sad day in Canadian music. His rest in peace, Myles, and thanks for the memories. Thank you very much. Appreciate everyone coming on. And again, I'll show you. Again, there I am with the band. That's the only time that I met them. Jim Henman I've interviewed maybe 4 times, I think. But I've interviewed each one of these guys. Jim Clench on the bottom left has passed as well. Steve Lang passed a little while ago, a few years ago. But there's Myles. So yeah, 2 of the 4 no longer with us. And you know, Jerry Mercer, top right, When I talked to him, he had a heart attack or something, and decided to become very spiritual. Maybe he always was. I don't know. And I interviewed him for a piece in a magazine that I was writing for in Vancouver. Brian Greenway, Bottom Right, is the guy who gave me tickets to that show that night when they came into town. I was living in Vancouver at the time. So there you have it, folks. Just wanted to tip my hat a little bit. And I just thought, well, I should do something on the Canadian channel concerning Myles Goodwyn. If you want to see our top 25 April wine songs, like I said off the top, it was just an arduous task. We did this like 3 weeks of production and making all the album covers come alive and did all this stuff. It's in the link is in the description. We just did that. We rebroadcast it this morning. Anyway, Myles Goodwyn passed away at 75 years old. A great life, a long legacy of great music. And we're processing an old interview that my friend Steve Burgess did with Myles Goodwyn right now, and we'll get it on later on today on the Rock History Music channel. We'll probably put it on there. Take good care of yourself, guys. Really, take care.